and got into sales right away. And then a buddy of mine introduced me to the life insurance space. He said you should get your license. I was selling cable door to door, making good money, working short hours, 15, 20 hours a week. I was super lazy because I was talented. And and I wish I wouldn't have done it that way. My kids were super young. I wish I would have done it the other way. I wish I would have overworked early, but I still have time, right? I still have time. So got into the space, found a company that had a slick telesales process back in 2014. So I've been selling life insurance over the phone since 2014. Um, I was single company, single carrier, all final expense. So I got good at handling clients over the phone, right? Which is different than being a broker. Got licensed and appointed with carriers with Family First Life in 2020. Actually, I'll even go back. I actually got appointed with Family First Life in 2018. This is a message to anybody who's building, who recruits, who onboards agents, gets them writing numbers, and then doesn't call them. Because I met Amy Mickelson for the first time. This is not a knock on anybody. This stuff happens. But I'm just telling you, make sure you follow up on people that you're putting into the business, because I met Amy Mickelson for the first time in person. She actually introduced me to Family First Life in 2018. I never got started outside of getting writing numbers, and got writing numbers, but we never connected. I never got plugged into anything. I definitely would take full responsibility for that. But we met at the top producer convention in Cancun, right? So I'm wondering if she's thinking like, damn, this dude was on my team, but now he's not on my team, right? So make sure you're following up with people. Just a little plug there. But yeah, man, I think it's a great business. I'm glad that more people are having the opportunity to sell life insurance over the phone. I know that there was a bit of a delay for some, but then COVID, right? And COVID really kind of gave us a peek into what this business can be, because before that it was kneecap to kneecap, in people's living rooms. And that's it's a lot less people that are going to do it at a high level when that's the case, because you have to go where the money's at. You got to go where the leads are at. Um, so yeah, that's a quick little introduction to me and how I got here.
I love that. So, I mean, like, that just goes to show that anybody should be able to do this business as long as you have the right work ethic. I mean, like, I've seen all different types of individuals come into this business, but like, you don't have to be some, person with a degree, like literally professional football player coming into this business and making something happen. So, like, the opportunity is there for anybody. It's just a matter of like what they're willing to put into it and what they want to get out of it, is what I truly see out of that. Is like your hard work kind of can translate into any field just depending on how hard you actually want to focus and like laser that in. Now, Josh, with that being said, you've built a sizable team, making good money. What are some key things that people could implement like this week, tomorrow, the next day, or whatever that could help get their teams and themselves to be consistent and riding at a high level?
Oof. What can you implement this week? I think that one of the things that you have to make sure that you have is routine. You have to have a routine. You have to have structure. I was told by a person very successful in the industry, everything without structure dies, and I was just dumb enough to let that sink in. So you got to have structure. I think that some of the characteristics that need to be implemented for everybody immediately is like endurance and toughness. Um, because even when you're winning, you'll still need those two things, endurance and toughness. Um, I think one of the things that you can do right now and implement immediately is to focus on the small numbers, not the big numbers. And what do I mean by that? I mean, um, focus on the number of sales, not the annual premium. Right? You might hit a lick and get a $3,000 annual premium. You might sell an IUL that is going to, pay you $9,000 over the course of the year, but maybe it caps out at the advanced cap at 2,500 or 3,500 for now. Focus on the small numbers not the big numbers. Those big numbers can sometimes make us lazy because we don't know how to handle winning. Let's remember that you get paid a loan against your future commissions. Yes, you earned it, but not yet. That's why when they say as earned, we don't like it when we get paid as earned. But that's actually us earning 1 month at a time what they normally pay us. So you don't celebrate the big victories because the big victory takes 9 months before it actually has been fulfilled. So if you focus on the small number, right? The number of presentations that you do, the number of closes that you do, the number of households that you sell, because you might sell 4 husband and wife deals. That's 8 deals. 8 deals, but it's only 4 households, right? So if you continue to focus on the small numbers, you'll stay running and it ultimately will get a big number. I think that's something you can implement immediately.
What are you doing from a lead perspective and a schedule perspective to be able to make sure that you're always selling more than 20, 30K? I mean, I think last month was one of your lighter months with all the travel you have, but you're usually like 30, 40K easy every month, right?
Yep, yep. So I would say, between the Christian leads, I work the Christian leads, and I work veteran leads, and also I buy IUL leads. It really kind of depends. So my time is, I won't say split, but my time is comprised of interviewing, selling, interviewing, training, supporting.
Okay.
Right. So I'm not just a writing agent, but I'm a writing agent to pay my bills. Right. I write business to pay my bills and to fund my business. Right. Um, you got to have leads. You got to have enough leads where you're not desperate for each individual lead, right? I think you got to have enough leads that when you make phone calls, you're not, even though it is just, when you're calling a number, it's just a number. It doesn't matter whether it's a new to you lead,
Mhm.
or if it's a lead that you've called 26 times. It's literally just a number as long as it's still ringing. You're not going straight to voicemail, right?
Yeah.
But there's something psychological about having, new leads constantly and all the time. And the next thing you know, the harder you work, the luckier you get. So next thing you know, because you've been dialing that lead religiously, you may be on the 57th dial, but it's the first time they pick up the phone and it's a one call close. I think one of the things that I have found is that, the harder you work, the luckier you get. So when you think about what comes first, the cart or the horse, like, it's always going to be the horse, and you're the horse. So you gotta put the work in. You gotta have the structure. You gotta have the discipline, the routine to be able to handle the wins and the losses. It's not a sexy business. It is a super simple business, um, but it's not easy. And
Mhm.
and stop wishing that it was easy, because if it was easy, they wouldn't pay us as well as they do. Right. So
That's
don't wish that it was easy. Just continue to improve your skills. Um, continue to improve your skills and get better every day. But you got to have plenty of leads. You got to have routine, and pick up the phone. Just hit the button. I would encourage everybody um, who may be dialing still by hand. God bless you, right? God bless you if you're still dialing by hand. But your world will get easier when all you have to do is hit a button, right? You'll spend much less time between calls when all you have to do is hit a single button, right? So whatever kind of dialing system that you use for that, get yourself on a system where you can just hit a button and it's going on to the next call.
I have a question.
we'll get the
So I'm new to FFL. I just downloaded the Go high level.
real quick. Hey, Amber,
Yes.
get the questions at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no
Got
problem. We talked
it.
again.
Okay.
We'll get you. We'll get you. I promise.
Okay, okay, thank you.
And so Josh, I think we've both experienced this and I've talked about this in the past, but like when someone rolls up some debt, like that obviously doesn't really happen very much anymore, but back in the day or like, in the past, if that ever did happen to you, how did you like correct your mindset to go out there and like write it off and not get down and want to get out of the business? Because I think it's easy just to exit the business if something like bad happens or something out of your control happens. Like how do you recorrect yourself and get in the right mindset just to like it's part of doing business?
Well, so I think the answer to that goes even deeper. Like if I was to go back to when I was selling cable, like I hated selling cable. Let's be clear. I hated selling cable, but to do 75,000 or $100,000 on 15 hours a week, where could I go? Right. So I was trapped. I felt trapped. But I was constantly looking for something else, something better, something that felt like I would be fulfilled,
Hmm.
something that I could actually enjoy more. And so I was very unsettled. But when I found life insurance, the life insurance space, I stopped looking. I actually felt settled. So the life insurance industry became home to me, right? And so now when you start to win at a high level, the levels of winning are significantly higher than what even I had experienced already. So there was no leaving, Calvin. Like there was just figuring it out and getting through it. Um, and you gotta connect yourself with people who have already done it. I remember when I called you, one of our first conversations from when we partnered up and we were actually talking about the debt, and I was like, yeah, I've got some debt that I'm working through, and you're like, well, how much is it? I'm thinking, I don't even know this dude all like that. He asked me a very direct question. I can't dance because he could just go look at the number. So I tell you, and you're like, oh, that's not even that bad. When you said that's not that bad, I immediately relaxed. So this stranger to me had the power in his words to help me to relax and understand that what I'm experiencing or what I have experienced is not actually weird. Right. And so that was super helpful. I think I think part of the reason, especially even for those that are like, oh, I'm just going to build, maybe there's somebody on the call that feels that way. Very dangerous strategy, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Because if you ever have to sell your way out of some bull crap, you don't know how to do it, right?
Yeah.
So I would tell you one of the best things to do is to sell at a high level because um, John Maxwell is one of my favorite authors, right? I studied leadership for a very long time. John Maxwell is the GOAT to me. The first law of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership is the law of the lid. If you got a low lid, right? If you're a 6 or 7 lid in terms of leadership, you cannot lead Joshua Harris. You can't lead a person who's a 7 or 8 or 9 in leadership if you are a 6 in leadership. So I've always worked hard be out in front, to do and try the things first, and to be able to experience those things before the people are going to come behind me who may not have the same chops for it, who may not be able to sustain the gut punch the way that I was able to. And try to minimize the pain that people experience. So hopefully that answers your question.
Absolutely. I think this kind of ties back in, but like you probably would never take advice from someone that's never played football before to give you quarterback advice, right? Like same thing goes for this business. Like if you don't know how to sell at a high level, how are you going to teach someone to sell at a high level? Like people are going to listen to you based on the actions that you have. If you have 5, 6 red jackets and you're qualified to give advice, but if you don't have one or you're not consistently hitting your numbers, it's hard for someone to want to listen to what you have to say, you know?
What's crazy is for a lot of people, one of the first things that they do is they learn how to sell. When they get here, they learn how to sell. But as soon as people start to learn more than just how to sell, when they start to really understand the industry, they're not going to want you to get paid from their hard work. They're not going to want to. So if you're not actually also working hard, you got problems down the line. You got to be more than just an introducer,
Yeah, I mean, you have
you
to be
know.
an actor. You have to be able to like relate with people, get on the same level. And like one thing I've learned, or have had to learn over the last couple of years, and I don't know if you're going through the same thing at all, is like everybody's goals are a little bit different. So you kind of have to like figure out what that individual goal is and help them build a plan around that. Because if it's your idea and your goal for them, the likelihood of them accomplishing that or trying to rationalize that or put it into action is going to reduce your odds of them actually doing it by like 90% because there's nothing that they want inside of that. It's. So like some people just want to sell 5, 10 grand a month and be left alone. And that's totally fine. Like they can do that
Yep.
all day long.
Yep.
But if you want to learn how to build a big business, how to sell at a high level, how to like unlock financial freedom, like you have to get around the right people. And that's what I think
For
the
sure.
was.
For sure. And also for those that are readers, there's a book that'll probably help you. John Maxwell. I don't get paid for this, but the 360-degree leader was one of my favorite books because it talks about leading up, leading down, leading laterally, right? And
Mhm.
so I think that in a business like this, that is critical. Depending, excuse me, depending on what kind of player in the space that you want to be, kind of like what Kevin was just talking about.
And then so like from a like coming into this business, you know, but you've been doing this for 13 years. Like being a producer has probably changed a lot. I mean, you have way more experience than I do, like at this point. Like I'm sure things have changed a lot as long as you've been in the business. But like for the people that are coming on board nowadays, I do think it's easier than it's ever been before.
For
But with
sure.
like what are some things that like so like for example, like Amber's brand new, she just got into the business, right? Now, what should she do tomorrow to make sure that she sets herself up for success through the weekend and through next week from a leads perspective and from like a expectations for dialing perspective?
Yeah, I think that it starts with your schedule, right? And I think that your schedule should be whatever it is, regardless of what happens. You know, you could be one of those people that lucks out, and I've seen agents make sales on their first handful of calls or their first pickup, right? And it's actually a not a great situation, right? Because now they're like, oh damn, this is that easy, but it's actually not, right? I've also seen people struggle to make sales, right? So I think you build your schedule, and then you just do the work inside of those hours. Now you may find that you need more hours based on your ability at the beginning. So people ask me, what is your schedule? Well, I'm in a unique place because my kids are damn near grown. My youngest son is 18 years old. He's going to his senior years. He don't need shit from me. He doesn't need anything. My oldest son is 20 years old, bro. And he's a third year college student playing college football at Bowling Green. And so my job is to make sure that we can fund all the things that we need. They don't need me. I just have to be there at the time of the event, whatever the event is. I just have to be there, right? And I got to make sure that the answer is yes more than the answer is no. And so I work from the start of the day until I'm done. I don't even have a finish time. We went to dinner last night. My wife surprised me and says, "Hey, school starts tomorrow. Want to do a kind of a last dinner thing?" I'm like, I got appointments this evening out on the West Coast. So while we go to Olive Garden, son went to Olive Garden, we go to Olive Garden. So we're there. I'm texting my 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, saying, "Hey, I'm at dinner with my family. I'll call you when we finish." I'll call you when we finish. She said, "Enjoy your family time." I called her, it was 10 o'clock Eastern. And, we had a great conversation. It's going to be multiple calls because she's got about 7 people that she may be looking to get coverage with. And maybe none of them get it. I don't know. We're going to find out. Right. But at the end of the day, it starts with the schedule, your structure of your schedule, making sure you have enough leads and literally just hit the button all day long. If you're just an agent dialing for dollars, and if you work 8 hours, at least 6 of those hours, probably 7 of those hours should be spent. You should treat this like a call center job.
Yeah. I think I was talking with Kinsey and Alethea the other day about this, where like, hey, like some people just pick it up quicker than others, and the only way to fix that is through disciplined schedule and work.
Yep.
You just have to do a little bit more than that person that's naturally better at this, and eventually it'll overcompensate enough to where you're going to be so good you're going to be untouchable. Where every single objection you get literally just comes off the tongue like it's like you've done this for 13, 14, 15 years or whatever. So I mean like if you are in the beginning of this business, specifically when I first got into the business, is I literally worked from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. every single day for 2 years until there was undoubtable success, proof in the pudding. Like no matter what happened, I could recite the script verbatim, right? And if you aren't putting in that work now, you're just getting so far behind that you're not going to catch anybody else that is. It no matter what you do. Like, so you have to be so diligent about your schedule. If you have a schedule or if you don't have a schedule, then you're already at a loss as it is. So what I would encourage you to do today, Amber, like, is build a schedule for the next 7 to 14 days or even a month out. And then put in all of your non-negotiables. Put in the stuff. I have to do this with my kids. I have to go to church on this day. I have to do this, this, and this. These are my non-negotiables, my personal time. This is what I need to get done no matter what. And then make sure you fill in your dial time inside of that, and it has enough activity in there that you can't fail. If you have to miss dial days on Mondays because you have this thing that you already committed to, like, you need to fill that back in the same week somewhere else so that the time levels out and is in this,
1,000%.
you know? And Josh, like, from a leads perspective, because I don't think we touch on this enough, like, you will fail if you don't have leads or if you're not consistently buying leads. That's why I think it's so important on getting on a reoccurring lead order, because you don't have to think about it and it's not an emotional decision every single week. But like from your leads, like, obviously they've changed a lot in the business. Are you still spending like the 2K per week, or has that changed for you, like, as you've gotten better at selling?
So what's crazy is, and this is why, just so you guys know, especially if Family First Life has been like your first stop in the industry, what you don't know is Family First Life dominates the field as it relates to production because the attitude about leads is different here than it is other places. The formula for success where I came from before this was buying 20 leads a week. It was basically $680, 20 leads a week, every week, 20 to 30 leads a week, every week. And nobody thought about just multiplying that by 2. No, nobody had the idea. I don't know what it was, but and so the top producers, I mean, I was a top 10 producer in 2018 with $128,000 of business. Right? Like, here it's not like that. Somebody will do 128,000 this month. There'll be several people probably that do 120. And so I would say, listen, you have to set your lead spend at a number that allows you the activity that you're looking for the week. The activity should dictate the results that you get. Early is going to be different because you're not as skilled, you're not as seasoned. I always encourage people to overwork early. I think most people's attitude about it is to underwork early and see how it goes. You might as well not start or have your mindset being a part-time deal, which is totally fine as well. If you're going to underwork early, overworking looks different for everybody based on whatever your life is like also,
Yeah.
But if you are in a place where you can actually, that's why you have to be really honest with yourself about where you are in life, what you want, what you don't want. You're either running to something or running away from something, right? Both situations work. So you got to figure out, are you running to the future you, or are you running away from the past that you don't want to go back to? Either way, it doesn't matter. Just run. Just run. So my lead spend has kind of leveled out. I mean, I generally am looking at 7 to 12x on my spend, the premium.
Yep.
Right. And because I do have a desire to build, instead of just doing more lead spend, which may take me away from being able to do interviews and train and whatever, I normally just kind of try to keep my lead spend in that ballpark, because your goals should dictate the activity that you do. So if I say, hey, I want to produce 40,000, I got to make sure that I do the activity that's going to get me at least that. Above that, I need to make sure that I'm building. I want to build $100,000 team in the next 6 months, a new $100,000 team in the next 6 months. Okay, well, you better be bringing in some folks, some new blood, teaching people how to sell life insurance. You better be focusing on some of those people that are already writing a little bit, seeing if you can get that premium up, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just all about producing the highest amounts of volume personally that I can when I'm trying to actually build an agency.
Yeah. And the reason why building the agency is so important is because even if you look at it from a leads perspective, which I did in the beginning, is if you get 10 people selling 10 grand a month and you have a 10% spread, you're going to make $10,000. And if you're spending $2,000 a week on leads, that's going to get washed out by overrides. So it's important that if you want to be here for a long time, we have producers that have been at the FFL for the inception of the company that have never built, that have just sold and been extremely happy, which is totally fine. But if your goal is to truly unlock like financial freedom, to have something run when you're not there, to be able to build something that helps individuals actually make more money, like you have to start recruiting or building, because it's not going to come overnight. It's a slow build. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and you have to consistently build that strong foundation. That's one thing I've effed up pretty bad at the beginning, is a strong foundation, because I thought that every person I hired was going to be here for the rest of the time, and that's just not true. So if you're not bringing in new blood on a monthly basis, and what I've always been taught is if you hire 10, one will stick,
Mm-hmm.
speaking, or be good. So if you're looking to build a team and you want to get 10 people actively selling every single month, that means you need to hire 10 per week. You return four rider, four will stick, so 4 a month, which means that if you want to be at, 10 people doing 10K, so 100K of volume, you need to work that backwards. We were doing goals in the office like a month ago, and some dude told me, he's like, I'm gonna be at 1 million by the end of the year. And I was like, dude, you have no shot. You're at $150,000 a month right now. Like, what do you think you need to do to hit a mill? Like what do you, like realistically? He's like, well, I need to do this and that. It's like, not really. What you need to do is figure out what your average per agent is, and you need to multiply that by, and you need to divide that by how much volume you want to do.
Yep.
That way, you know how many people you need to add per month. And if you know that every 10 people that you hire, one sticks, dude, you have to do 4 times the amount of recruits that you're actually doing already. So it's like you guys have to remember that, like, same thing when you get into selling. Like, if you just go into it, I'm gonna write 40K a month, but you don't have the right activity or leads, it's like not gonna happen. And I'm not gonna sit there and tell you it's gonna be okay, you're gonna do it. Like, I'm just gonna tell you straight up, like, it's not gonna work. So if you want to make and put things into action, you have to have a realistic, actual, real goal that you can actually put into action and you can act on, or else it will not work. So
Mm-hmm.
with that being said, we'll open it for questions real quick, Josh, and we'll grab a few questions and then close it out so everybody can get to dial in. Amber, do you still have your question?
Yeah, so I just downloaded the Go High Level. I have a phone call with Go High Level at 3:30 today, but if there's any advice on, just understanding the app, like it's kind of confusing at the moment. So I was wondering if anyone kind of knows anything about if they could help.
Well, here's what I will say. Any tool that you use, you're not going to learn it overnight. You need to learn the basics that allow you to get moving.
Yeah.
Then you need to move throughout the day, and then you need to study your tools when you're not dialing at night or in the
Okay.
morning.
So
Because
do you recommend,
huh?
oh, sorry. Do you recommend just calling from my phone while I'm trying to learn the CRM?
I don't know. It depends. I mean, I would take the 3:30 call, right? But if they say, hey, there's a phone button in Go High Level that you can click, boom, and it's going to ring somebody, right? There's a million different ways you can do it, Amber. I would
Yeah.
encourage you to talk to the person who brought you to the business, see kind of how they're operating, and then whatever advice that they give you, then follow that.
Okay.
I got a quick question for you, Josh. Random question, I would say, but what percentage of your closes would you say is a one call close in comparison to like you had a follow-up
Great
call?
question. Great question. So I'm not a hardcore closer. I am an endurance dude. I sell the way that I like to consume. I would say if I close 10 deals, so 10 closed deals, I would say 4 or 5 of them are closed on the first call, right? If somebody tells you if they don't buy on the first call, they're never going to pick up the phone again, that's not true. I don't care who said it. It's not true. I've made too many sales on the wraparound for that to be true. Now, the problem is most people's follow-up is trash.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not organized.
Yeah,
You're missing your own appointments that you set,
yeah.
or you don't have a strong way of re-engaging someone who missed the appointment that you called back, right? So you don't put it in the right category. So then it just falls between the cracks. You've got things falling through the cracks left and right. that's on you. That's called organization. So I would just encourage people, like, you can either make people tell you no 17 times, or you can get told no the right way and believe
Yeah.
them, right? Like, but you have to have strong organizational skills, follow-up skills. That's why the job is nonstop. It's all day long, right? It's phone calls, it's text messages. I don't ever email anybody, but it's phone calls and text messages all the way across the finish line. All the way. It doesn't matter how many touches it takes. For me, personally. I work
See,
every day. 6 days
yeah,
a week.
I would say I have a pretty similar mindset. I think it's all situation dependent. Like if you don't have coverage at all currently, I'm gonna put more pressure. If you do, obviously now it's kind of, having to further
I agree
evaluate
with
the
that.
situation. So,
I agree. I had another guy tell me this one time too. It really gave me some pause because we were talking about the same thing. He's another guy who's a 20, 30, $40,000 producer. He's not on our team, but um and I was kind of asking him the question, even though I've been in the game for so long, right? I was just in one of those periods of time where I was like, man, I think probably what happened is I had a person who told me to call him back. I called him back. They had already bought.
hmm
And I was like, well, damn. So what you're telling me is I got to be more of an asshole on the first call, right? I got to not listen because you asked me respectfully to blah, 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 blah. And he was like, I said, so do you think I should kind of switch that up? He said, as long as it's not hurting you, you can do it the way that you're doing it. But if it starts hurting you or your production, then you should change it. I thought that that was an outstanding answer.
hmm Yeah, I agree with that.
Because understand this, guys, like part of the endurance deal is that you can't be miserable while you do this. That's part of sustaining success over the long haul. So if they said, hey, no more telesales is available, everyone's going back to the field, period. Even though I've made multiple six figures in the industry for several years now, I may be looking for something else to do because I don't want to do it that way. Right? So part of this deal is finding a flow that works for you, that you are able to do. So look, I got 100 pounds that I could afford to lose, right? In real life. This is in real life. I called my strength coach from college one time and I was like, hey, I need you to get me right, coach. And he was like, all right, cool. I'm going to put a program together for you. He's like, it's going to be boring. It's going to be monotonous, but I'm not trying to send you back to the weight room and have you be so sore that you won't go back the next day. So I'm just telling you right now, the workout is going to feel like it's not much, but you just got to do it 5 days a week for a long period of time, and you'll get the results that you're looking for. I didn't do it, by the way, but I'm just saying. But I can still backflip off of a boat, so I'm doing all right.
All right. Well, I think does anybody else have any last minute questions? We're already rolling up on 40 minutes, but without Josh, dude, I really appreciate you, everything you do for the team as a producer, as a manager, as a leader, as a friend, honestly, at this point. So I appreciate you. Thanks for pouring into to everybody on this call today. If anybody has any questions about what he's doing, just reach out to him. He's always in Zoom with his team. What breakout room are you guys usually in?
7.
7. So if you got any questions for him, hit him up in number 7. But we'll close this out and open up the breakout rooms and get everybody back rolling. Appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. If you ever need anything, please let me know.
Happy dialing, y'all.